by 644, the rising Islamic State had expanded into a vast empire, and the Caliphate had come into the hands of an Umayyad, Uthman.
Uthman was a genius, but he employed far too many of his young cousins. The Umayyads were the aristocrat of Mecca, and they'd been great leaders of the pagan resistance. And so promoting these characters who were his lovely cousins was also, a bad political decision.
A rebellion erupted against Uthman's alleged nepotism. In 656, and after 12 years as Caliph, he was killed in his house in Medina.
بعد أن حصل ما حصل مع الأسف الشديد ووجد الإمام أن الناس تهافتت إليه، حاول الاعتذار في أكثر من مرة كما تنقل لنا النصوص التاريخية. حاول الاعتذار، ولكن بعد ذلك وجد أن المصلحة الإسلامية تحتم عليه أن يستجيب، فاستجاب وبايعه المهاجرون والأنصار.
Almost a quarter of a century after the death of the Prophet, a Hashemite, Ali, finally became the fourth Caliph.
هو باشر في خلع الولاة وعزل الولاة الذين عينوا من قبل عثمان بن عفان، لذلك بعضهم أطاع وقبل العزل وبعضهم رفض، مثل معاوية بن أبي سفيان والي الشام.
Many of Uthman's relatives were hostile to Ali's leadership, and Muawiyah demanded that Ali hand over the killers.
The dispute quickly escalated, and to strengthen his position, Ali moved the capital from Medina to his own power base in Kufa, Iraq. The Islamic State was now divided in two, the east under a Hashemite caliph and the west under an Umayyad governor.
نشأ ما يسمى داخل المسلمين شيعة علي وشيعة معاوية، وهنا لنلاحظ أن كلمة شيعة لم تكن تعني في ذلك الوقت مذهبا محددا، وإنما كانت تدل على حزب فلان وحزب فلان.
In 657, Ali marched his army into Syria to crush Muawiyah's mutiny. After days of bloody skirmishes, and on the last day of the battle, the army of Muawiyah was on the verge of defeat.
الإمام علي عندما وصل إلى خيمة معاوية، ومعاوية وضع فرية وخدعة ووضع الرباح على القرائين، أي لفظ بين القرآن، لذلك الإمام علي أوقف القتال. الخوارج كانوا من جيش الإمام علي، فهم جاءوا إلى المعلم وقالوا له: وصلنا إلى خيمته، كان باستطاعتنا أن نقضي عليه. قال: والله أعرف، وأعرف أنه خادع، ولكنه حكمني بكتاب الله. ولذلك الخوارج اعتبروا أنه الإمام علي لا يصلح للقيادة، لأنه خضع لمنطق لا يتفق مع منطق القتال. قالوا: لماذا إذا نقاتلهم؟
These dissidents from Ali's army, the Khawarij, fixed on a ruthless way to bring an end to the struggle. The moment was chosen. Fajr, dawn prayers of the 27th of January 661, the 17th day of the holy month of Ramadan. 3 assassins made their way to 3 different places: Kufa for Ali, Damascus for Muawiyah, and Fustat in Egypt for Amr, Muawiyah's ally.
عمرو بن العاص صادف أنه لم يخرج ذاك اليوم، معاوية بن سفيان صادف أنه لم يخرج ذلك اليوم، وبالتالي استشهد الإمام علي ونجا معاوية وعمرو بن العاص.
Najaf in Iraq, a holy place to Shia Muslims. They believe Ali is buried here. For them, he is more than a caliph. He is an imam, imbued with religious authority that could be passed on only through his bloodline. So, on Ali's death, the caliphate passed to his elder son, Al-Hassan. But he would not be long in the post.
So what we just heard about there in that rather long clip is about the Civil War, at the beginning of the Civil War that happened. I think we heard about all the Civil War there. I think I ended here on our last video about Islam. So the Civil War that happens takes place between the family of Uthman, so he is assassinated as he showed here, and Ali, okay? And Ali, remember, was from the same family as Muhammad. He was his cousin, and he was married to Muhammad's daughter. So that's the Civil War, and it has big ramifications for what happens later. So Muawiyah there, I don't have the better pronunciation of the video, but here you go. Muawiyah there was the cousin of Uthman, and he was the governor of Syria, and he would not accept Ali as caliph, as we heard. There was a battle. He said 657 in the video. I've always seen 658. It's really not that big a deal, but about that time, there was a battle, and at that battle, it looked like Ali was going to win, as we heard. Muawiyah has his soldiers hold Qurans out. The Quran had recently been written, according to Muslim tradition, and they decide to arbitrate. They decide to arbitrate or negotiate, and so they do. Muawiyah submits to Ali, or at least recognizing him as caliph. But, as we heard, there's a group within Ali's side that are angered by this. They're named, in English anyway, as the Kharijites. And this group is angry, and as we heard in the video there, they decide a way to solve this is actually try to eliminate all the leaders, but Ali's the only one who gets assassinated in 661. Okay? So, that leaves Muawiyah ending up as caliph. Okay? Caliph, successor to the prophet. And he is an Umayyad. Okay, we just heard about that. He's in the same family as Uthman and so they're known as the Umayyad group. And he dies in 680, and his son was then to be appointed. And, well, I'll say a little bit more about that maybe in a second. So Muawiyah dies in 680. He also had his own capital in Damascus. Damascus is in Syria, as we saw in the video. Okay, so there's Damascus. It's in Syria. So the capital of the Umayyad dynasty will be in Damascus. So this family, Muawiyah and Uthman, their family is known as the Umayyad dynasty, and they will have a dynasty until 750. This is a picture of what today would be Ali's tomb in southern Iraq. That's the front of the tomb. Pretty nicely decorated. And out of this civil war comes the biggest religious division in Islam. You might have heard these terms before. You have two major groups in Islam, the Shiite or Shia here. Shia or Shiite means supporters. So in this case, they are the Shia Ali, the supporters of Ali, right? And they believe that the leader, the imam of the Ummah, of the religious community of Muslims, should come through Ali's family, right? And they talked about that in the video, the Hashim, okay? And the Umayyad were not that family. Now, Ali's son, who they recognize as the third Imam, Ali's son, was also killed in 680 by an army supported by Muawiyah's son Yazid. So after Muawiyah died in 680, there was a battle, really a massacre in some ways, and Hussein, the son of Ali, this guy right here, so he's the son of Ali, and that would make him Muhammad's grandson, right? Okay, because Ali was married to Muhammad's daughter, is killed at Karbala. And Karbala is in southern Iraq too. So this is a big deal. This division kind of becomes cemented at this time. And today, even in Islam, the two major groups are the Sunni, S-U-N-N-I, who follow the Sunnah, the tradition, and the Shia or Shiite, who follow this idea of the family of the leaders should come through Ali's side. And over time, the Shia developed this idea that the Imams, I use the term special revelation, I hope that's the right idea there. They seem to be more blessed by God to interpret the Quran and to understand religious things. So maybe that's a better way to put it, but that's kind of the way the Shia see the Imams there. So the leaders, importantly, should come through this line. Now, so over time, the Shia have these leaders called Imams. Now, what makes them different than the rest of the Muslims is, one, they're a smaller group. So most Muslims do not accept this basic idea over time. And they're somewhat persecuted by the dominant Sunni Muslims, all right? They also come to believe in something called the return of the Mahdi. The Mahdi means guided one. This is a messianic type idea. It's similar to the idea of the Jewish Messiah or the Christian idea of Messiah. An anointed one, a blessed one who's going to return before Judgment Day and lead the world to a time of peace and prosperity. And they believe, well, most of them believe it's the 12th Imam. There are some Shia groups that believe it's other Imams like the 7th Imam. Okay? So, but this is an important part of the Shia religion. So the Umayyad Caliphate ends in 750, and a new family took over, known as the Abbas. And then the Abbas were descended from the Hashim side, so they did have a claim to the caliphate that was based on descent from Muhammad. That is an abbreviation of Muhammad, not meant as an insult, just an abbreviation for my slides. So Muhammad's uncle was the ancestor of the Abbas family. Okay, so they claimed some authority based on that too. Al-Mansur was one of the great rulers of the Abbasid Caliphate, Al-Mansur. And this is important because the Abbasid Caliphate will move their capital to Baghdad. So under the Abbasid Caliphate, Baghdad becomes the main city and capital. That's the same area that is Baghdad, Iraq today. So while the Umayyads are associated with Damascus over in Syria, Baghdad is the center of the Abbasid Caliphate. Okay? The other thing that happened during the Abbasid Caliphate is the expansion of the ruling elite. For the most part, for the first, I would say 50 to 100 years, the ruling elite in the conquered areas were the Arabs. So this is what's often called the Arab conquest. It's not just the Muslim conquest, it was the Arab conquest. Well, that begins to change during this period as other groups that had converted to Islam now have generations of people who are devout Muslims. They are now entering the ruling elite also. A couple of things just to mention over time. The Muslims, there were Muslim armies that conquered all the way into Spain in the 700s. I talked about that some before. There was an Umayyad ruler in Spain for quite a long time, even after the Abbasid caliphs ruled other places. And there were often opponents within Islam to the center of rule in Baghdad too. So you'll see that happen in other places like Egypt and North Africa. So just to mention, there was an Umayyad rule in Spain during that time too. The Turks also enter the Middle East during this time period, as you see on the slides.